Okay, so now that we've gone over your health concerns in greater detail, we can just go over your intake form just in a little bit more detail than we did before, just to kind of review your goals and discuss your health concerns. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So we'll just start by reviewing your intake paperwork. Thank you again for completing all of those forms for me. That was really helpful, and I got a really clear picture of what's going on in your life and what your primary goals are. So the info you provided will just help us work together to search for solutions for your health concerns. Did
Perfect.
any of the questions on the intake form prompt you to think about what else you'd like to cover in our sessions together?
Hmm. So I filled out the forms, as you know, a little while ago,
Yeah.
and I can't quite remember.
Okay.
So maybe be a little helpful to. Did you see anything that might be sort of a red flag or something that we should discuss?
Sure, yeah. In your, you might remember the medical symptoms questionnaire, and
Mhm.
it basically kind of went through each sort of grouping of different symptoms related to different systems. And
Oh,
you
that's
mentioned, yeah, you mentioned in the that occasionally you experience loose stool, bloating, flatulence, and belching. And I know that you marked it as not severe and it's more of an occasional thing, but would you say that this is a persistent problem for you?
yes. And I notice it more if I've been trying to notice ever since I filled out those forms so that you were right. They did help me sort of become aware of things. And I noticed that like cruciferous vegetables,
Hmm.
cauliflower, broccoli, if I eat them more than one day, more than a couple of days in a row,
Hmm.
I seem to get the symptoms. I can eat them for one meal
Okay.
and I don't seem to have a problem usually.
Hmm.
Um, but
Great.
it seems to be a volume thing, I guess. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just going to
That
ask you
makes
if
sense.
you could pinpoint any types of foods or drinks that are triggers for you. So that's good to note, just that the brassica family of veggies may seem to just, are you eating them raw or cooked?
Cooked, always
Cooked.
cooked. I
Okay.
don't eat very many raw vegetables at
Okay.
all.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll definitely mark that down. We can discuss that in more detail as we move through. And I also noticed that you experience some arthritis and joint pain.
Yeah.
So, which joints are affected, and are the supplements that you're taking seeming to help with the pain?
Um, Definitely my hand, on my right hand,
Okay.
um, because I broke it.
Hmm.
Or so that's what the doctor says, because I broke it. Arthritis settles in there. I don't even exactly know what settles in there more. Um, and I'm not sure if my hips are starting to get arthritic. That's just sort of in my head. Maybe I'm getting a little stiffer
Okay.
in my hips. I do a lot of yoga, and I've just noticed in the last, say, year, some of the poses are more difficult. I don't seem to be able to relax into them
Hmm.
as well, and it all has to do with hip
Okay. So it's not hip tightness, it's like hip pain or stiffness?
stiffness and, yes, I guess pain.
Okay. And then,
Minor pain, but
okay, minor pain. And what you said, right hand, but not left hand, or just right hand's worse?
only right hand.
Right hand. And you would characterize that as pain, not just stiffness.
Pain if I, in, no, it's hard to describe. It only hurts if I use it, and it doesn't hurt all the time if I use it.
Okay.
It hurts sometimes, like to pick up a glass,
Okay.
for example, might hurt one day and doesn't hurt the next.
Okay. That's good to know. And does it seem to be getting worse over time or staying the same?
Worse.
Worse. So each year it's worse.
Well, it's been happening for about a year now.
Oh, okay. So it's worsening though, you would say.
Yeah.
Worsening. Okay. Um, and then I asked about the supplements that you're taking. Do those seem to help, or you can't, is it hard to tell?
It's very hard to tell because I've been taking them for longer than I've been having the pain.
Okay, that's fine. Just curious if you had noticed a dramatic change in how they felt as soon as you started those, but sounds
But
like
I
not.
took 500 milligrams of turmeric, and from what I read, that should be enough to help arthritis pain, but we can talk about that
Yeah,
later on.
sounds good. Okay, thanks. So, I mean, I felt as though for the most part your intake form, I mean, you're clearly very healthy. You don't have a whole lot of health issues, which is great. And I know that we had previously discussed just your overall goal of health optimization and a little bit of like abdominal fat loss. But is other than the digestive symptoms that are occasional and the arthritic pain, do you feel like there's anything else that's come up? Or I guess I'm just asking kind of how do you feel about what we've gone over today? Do you feel like we've sort of covered it?
Those are the only real problems that I have at the moment. Knock on wood, and yeah. So
Okay.
yes, definitely you covered it.
Okay, great. So just to summarize, we've just identified that your primary goals are to optimize your nutrition, lose some abdominal fat,
Yes.
and ideally support or reduce the pain and stiffness you're experiencing in your right hand and hips, as
Yes.
well as ideally resolve the digestive discomfort that you experience eating sort of cruciferous vegetables and other things that we may not have identified quite yet as a trigger.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Exactly.
okay, great. So on that, how important is it to you that these health goals are achieved?
It's first and foremost, it's the reason that I'm seeing
Okay,
you. So it is very important.
so if you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10,
10.
10. Okay. And how confident do you feel about succeeding on a scale of 1 to 10?
10.
10.
Because
Okay.
I'll do what it takes.
Okay, great. Sounds like you're very
Unless you
ready and
tell me I
motivated.
can't have chocolate ever again. And then,
And then the deal's off. Okay. Um, and then, okay, so other than that, now that we've just sort of gone over your nutritional assessment, we can begin working together on the changes that we need to make in order to move on to our next session.
perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Look forward to working with you.
You too. Thanks. Bye.